I have used poetry all my life for processing trauma. The body can hold but so much. So I've seen it. I've seen that trauma, and I've talked to many elders who would say, I don't want to talk about that. It happened a long time ago, and I've had to find a place to make peace with it. So I've seen the ravage, how slavery and how injustice, and people who were living during Jim Crow, people who were involved in desegregation, people who were just trying to declare that I am here and I am human. The power of witness and truth-telling is very dangerous. And, there's so many people's names that we don't know. And there's so many people's names that we'll never know who are holding this generational trauma still. We didn't have social workers. We didn't have counselors that were available to us to help us process all of this. And then just that adage of just be quiet. Black people we've been taught generationally to be quiet, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. I remember when my daughter died and an elder called me, and she didn't mean any harm, but her words to me were so not what I needed to hear. But she said, Jackie, you're a big girl. Now you just go on and get over it. You just get over it. Just don't think about it. And I was counting from 1,000 forward. And I was thinking, you have never had children. You can't tell me to just get over it. And I just said, I gotta go now. And I hung up. And I realized, though, that was her way of surviving. That had been taught to her. So I can't say I understand, but I do understand in a way, because I've witnessed what these individuals were holding. And I don't think that at that time in their lives there was so much to hold. They didn't even have time to make the containers, the necessary emotional, sociological, psychological containers, and to be able to sift through it, and to unravel it, take it apart, to process it the way at least we have the advantage of having services available to us to break it down. All of us are only here because some ancestor did not jump off of the back of a slave ship. When we think about those mothers who, holding babies to their bosoms, just threw themselves overboard rather than come to the unknown. I think about that a lot, that's why I'm here, that someone persevered. But I also honor those who jumped. And when we came here, though, there was no jumping off. There was no more jumping off. And because we were a community of people, of enslaved people, we were holding on to each other. Suicide was not an option. Suicide was not enough. So to have this level of preservation passed on down to you, and here you are, not even 100 years later, trying to fight just to assert yourself as a human being. Not as a black human being, but as a human being, when we were only valued as 3/5 of a person. When people did not even see us other than as chattel. Well, that still continues now. That continues now, that when a 12-year-old black boy knocks at a door, rings a doorbell, who looks like a little shrimp, and your first response is to grab your gun. And that goes back to your first responses in the 20s, in the 30s, in the 40s, when a black man rang your doorbell, or even was near your house. Reznikov, a documentary poet from the 30s, writes about a case of a Negro who was seen peeping into the window of a young white girl. He was a lawyer by day and a poet at night. And all of his poetry comes out of his legal briefs. And I often think about this particular poem. It's about a Negro, nameless, who was accused of peeping in this child's window. Father, son, find the man, have him arrested, but he mysteriously dies in the hands of the police. And that was in the 30s. And we think about the Emmett Till stories, because there are many Emmett Tills. And the fact that that woman wanted her child's face, what had happened to her child, to be seen, to be witnessed. So when I think about these families in North Carolina, just what they witnessed and what they endured and what they were trying their best to live through. I said this before, the physical and mental psyche and emotional psyche can only take but so much. So it's such an honor to be able to have descendants of these people, to have their witnessing backwards and also witnessing forward. You know, what does it mean that they are the descendants and that they are surviving inside of these stories?